Brhad Bhagavatamrta, Part 2, Chapter 3, Text 113. And this is the last verse spoken by Ganesh under his mother's instruction, spoken to Kumar. They're in the realm of Sayuja, realm of Sayuja. What do they call it? Some other name. We just heard this lengthy description of the Brahmana and Dwaraka. Sons were gone on, that they had entered into this realm of Sayuja and wanted them back. So he created an arrangement with Arjuna and Krishna to get his sons back from the Sayuja realm. That's what we heard. And we also heard that the residents of Dwaraka have Satchidananda bodies and many other nice things. So he concludes that even here, the Sayuja realm, you have seen the Supreme Lord in this form, because your divine grace gave you His mercy. Mercy is a supreme mercy. That mercy created in you the strong desire to see Krishna, which impelled Krishna to reveal himself. Commentary: in Mahakamapur, the sixth place where many come to experience impersonal liberation, Gopakumar had shown of the beauty of Lord Mahala Vishnu. If, by the mercy of Guru and the Vaishnavas, was eager to see this a person, nothing can stand in the way of success. Very nice. Krishna Didriksha. Krishna Didriksha is a desire to see Krishna. Bhara, the intensity. Karatam caused. His mercy caused that. Text 114. Sri Gopakumar said to the Mathura Brahmin, "Oh, Brahmana, Lord Shiva's mercy," so Lord Shiva speaking, not Ganesh. "Lord Shiva's mercy filled me with the greatest ecstasy. I wanted to say something, but was unable because I felt too shy." Commentary: Gopakumar wanted to inquire from the Vaikuntha messengers, but he couldn't say anything. Text 115. Upon hearing Lord Shiva's words, the associates of the Supreme Lord bowed respectfully before him and addressed him with great pleasure and humility. Commentary: before explaining their reason for having come, the visitors from Vaikuntha first wanted to say something to ease Gopakumar's sorrow. This accomplished, they could then awaken Gopakumar's love of God, by which he would automatically forget his anxiety. Text 116. The associates of the Supreme Lord said, "Oh, Lord Shiva, there is no difference between you and the Supreme Lord, the Master of Vaikuntha. nor between Gauri and Rama. Commentary. Just as Lord Shiva is an incarnation of Lord Vaikuntanath, the goddess Gauri is a parallel incarnation of Rama or Lakshmi. Text 117. Indeed, it is fitting for you and the goddess Gauri to reside in Lord Vishnu's abode, for you are renowned as his dearest friend and his exalted incarnation. Yet, what you have just spoken suits perfectly the mood of a dearmost devotee of the Lord. Commentary. Glorifying Vaikuntha, Lord Shiva had said that Brahma's sons, and he himself all strive to attain it. This sentiment is fitting for a humble Vaishnava, even if not exactly true. Lord Shiva and his wife can enter Vaikuntha at any time they want. Text 119. You are praised by the Vaishnavas, for your mood inspires others to take to his devotional service with its waves of rasas. Among all his incarnations, therefore, you are the greatest. Text 120. Sri Gopakumar said, abashed at hearing himself praised, Lord Shiva remained silent. Then the associates of Lord Vishnu, who were Lord Shiva's dearmost friends, embraced me and spoke. Commentary. Saintly persons do not like to hear themselves praised, and Lord Shiva is the most saintly and cultured person. Another quality of saintly persons is unconditional compassion, which the Vaikuntha messenger showed toward Gopakumar. Text 121. The associates of the Supreme Lord said, O worshipper of the transcendental mantra of our Lord, O beloved of the husband of Uma, O son of a cowherd, indeed we count you amongst the Lord's devotees. Commentary. With these kind words of the Vaikuntha Dutas, the Vaikuntha Dutas assured Gopakumar that he too was fit to enter Vaikuntha. In general, those who properly worship the authentic Vishnu mantras become pure Vaishnavas, and pure Vaishnavas can reside in Vaikuntha. Text 122. Born in the country of Goda, see what it says, Goda, Western Bengal. Born in the country of Goda, on the banks of the Ganga, was a first-class Mathura Brahmana named Jayanta. He is an incarnation of Krishna and is your exalted spiritual master. Accept as true that we have come here only for your sake, and please hear what is beneficial for you to do. If you want to reach Vaikuntha, then give up everything and with pure love practice the 9 forms of devotional service. Commentary. When the messengers told Gopakumar to, quote, give up everything, unquote, they meant that he should be ready to leave Mahakalapur and that he should give up attachment to his formal mantra chanting. His chanting out of duty should transform into ecstatic Nam Sankirtan, in which the enthusiasm of his love for Madan Gopal Dev would be directed into the 9 methods of pure bhakti. wild, huh? I mean, part of the reason for wanting to read this, I mentioned yesterday, but another part is it completely conforms with what we heard Bhaktivinoda Thakur say about service and duty and service and rag. This is the rag message, chanting with attachment, where you give up the duty part and you move on to another stage of chanting. I'll read it again. His chanting out of duty should transform into ecstatic Nama Sankirtan. That's right, he's not going to. Nama Sankirtan has its, modern connotation, but Gopal Kumar is not going to get musical instruments and sit together with other gopas and chant his Madhu Gopal mantra. Kirtan means a type of mantra chanting. In which the enthusiasm of his love for Madhu Gopal Dev would be directed into the 9 methods of pure bhakti. And that part of this sentence is very similar to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Did you see the slide presentation on Sunday evening? Yeah. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I really like it. I received it from Gopal Bhakti. Where there's one slide that says, where part of that little statement says, this chanting of the holy name does not only apply to the mantra itself, it's to all forms of service. When chanted in a rag mood, the chanting has it flows into the realm of all service. Rag meaning attraction. Honor the Bhagavatam and other scriptures that tell of this devotional service. Hear from them regularly about the Lord's pastimes. For when those narrations enter the holes of your ears, and you relish them with love, they will swiftly award you the Lord's abode. Commentary. Because Gopal Kumar is not familiar with the 9 methods of devotional service, the Vaikuntha messengers informed him first about the method of Shravana, hearing. Of all the authorized forms of Shravana, hearing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, especially from Srimad Bhagavatam, is recommended as the most effective. Srimad Bhagavatam often reiterates this recommendation. Canto 12, Chapter 2, and Chapter 4, Text 40, gives the Sanskrit. For a person who is suffering in the fire of countless miseries and who desires to cross the insurmountable ocean of material existence, there is no suitable boat except that of cultivating devotion to the transcendental taste for the narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastimes. That's another message that's repeatedly in the Bhagavatam, where there's taste for the topics of the Personality of Godhead. That's the method or the seed for going beyond material struggles. 2237 reads, Pibata ye Bhagavata Atmana Satam. Those who drink through oral reception, their ears fully filled with the nectarian message of the Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees purify themselves of the polluted aim of life, known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to Godhead, back to the Lord's lotus feet. Text 125. Devotional service in any one of the 9 forms is the best possible spiritual discipline and can easily award you the ultimate goal by Kunta. Commentary. Pure devotional service is superior to all other spiritual disciplines, dhyan, karma, and so on, and therefore the goal achieved by bhakti is better than liberation, material enjoyment, and the results of any other method. The fruit matches the quality of the tree, as stated in scriptures from Brahma Purana. Persons diksha matrena krishnasya nara moksham brajanti vai. Persons simply initiated into the chanting of Krishna's names certainly attain liberation. What to speak of those who constantly worship Lord Achyuta with pure devotion. Then there's another verse, doesn't say where it's from. Quote, people who always remember Lord Janardana, even with dishonest intentions, upon leaving their bodies, will go to the faultless world of Vishnu. Vishnu Lokam Anamayam. Text 126. Without a second thought, advanced souls disregard all other benefits as trifling, even those praised in Scripture as supremely great. Commentary. The desire tree in Vedic Scripture can grant whatever benefits people aspire for. Thus, those who are less fortunate, who do not appreciate the value of Vaikuntha Loka, approach the Vedas for lesser rewards and are granted them. But because the great wise souls know how to discriminate between what is essential and what is useless, they are not enticed by inferior achievements offered in the Vedas. Rather, those great souls are attracted by bhakti rasa, the transcendental tastes of Lord Vishnu's devotional service. Text 127. Yet, devotees who understand the rasas of devotional service may practice all 9 forms of bhakti to easily obtain the sweetness of its diverse tastes. Commentary. Although devotees can attain Vaikuntha by any one of 9 processes of bhakti, they often like to engage in all 9 to enjoy the supreme, indescribably blissful taste of those transcendental activities. Each of the practices, beginning with Shravanam and Kirtanam, gives a sweet satisfaction of its own. The auspicious, text 128. When one engages with faith in even one of these forms of bhakti, pure love for the lotus feet of Sri Krishna automatically arises. Commentary. As explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Sanatana Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22:62, Shraddha, or faith, is properly understood in terms of, quote, trust, Vishvas, in the efficacy of the devotional process, quotes the verse, Shraddha Shabde, etc. By rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. This confident, firm faith favorable to the discharge of devotional service is called Shraddha. Text 129. Even so, the disease of aspiring for other goals may hinder devotees from attaining Vaikuntha. To keep their hearts free of this, devotees should, with pure love, continue practicing devotional service. Commentary. Prema, pure love of God, is never tainted by desires for selfish benefits. Such ambitions cause all sorts of anxieties which burn the diseased heart. A devotee who wants to experience the higher reality of prema must cure himself of this heart disease. Otherwise, entanglements will hamper his progress toward Vaikuntha as he fulfills his ulterior motives. Selfish desires cause misfortune in this world and obstruct one's endeavors to attain the spiritual world beyond. But when one's prema is finally awakened, these harmful desires vanish, and the sanctified devotee knows only perfect happiness in this life and the next. Just a little break for reading. I've had this uninformed notion that this nice little book, Manashiksha, would be a nice book to speak from. Give it, one of the seminars on Manashiksha. I started reading Manashiksha and I closed it because it's so high. It's not that it's not for anybody, but it's for general audiences. How is general audience going to relate to this? So I contacted some people that already had given the seminar, and one of them was Irma. We've had some exchanges, two. She sent me, immediately her Google page where all of her presentations and notes and everything are downloadable. I downloaded, looked at them. And then so I wrote back to her and asked, how did you deal with, you've done this several times. My hesitation I have is, it's a very elevated subject. And how are new people going to be able to relate to such an elevated subject? It's talking of really elevated. Anyway, so she wrote back saying it's for everybody. I mean, I'm not sold on the topic. Being a nice seminar for Memorial Day weekend kind of people, but maybe I will. And it's her message is, I'm just trying to sort out in my mind whether I should or shouldn't, but it is the teaching of our Goswamis, which is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, to go down the path of Rag Marg. And it's not what Prabhupada, displayed in public forums. At the same time, it's in his books. It's undeniably in his books. Even, one of our Bhakti Shastri texts, in Nectar of Instruction, text 8, this quote from Bhakti Siddhanta is right there. These different stages up to the stage of perfection. It's just a paragraph. It's not like, a big flag that is waved, but it's there. And then, up to Radharani, Radhakund, it's very elevated. And then it's there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya's instructions to Sanatana Goswami, which is part of what she wrote. It's there in her book. And here it is, same. It's Sanatana Goswami doesn't, not that he doesn't know what Lord Chaitanya's teachings are, he knows what Lord Chaitanya's teachings are. And it starts with the same thing that this starts with. This starts with Mathura Brahman saying to Gopakumar, there's so many different teachings out there. How do I know what's the ultimate teaching and the means to achieve it? Lord Chaitanya's teachings as devotional service as the means, and the particular type of devotional service is the rag, where one doesn't just do out of duty, but one does with this other kind of rag or spontaneous attraction. And you can't get there just by snapping your fingers. Okay, spontaneous attraction, got it. But it's and then. It's right here. When one's praying, and it's similarly in this Manashiksha, there's a big part of what's in Manashiksha is getting rid of the rubbish, the undesirable this and that's, the Narjanariti, with lists of them. Then comes the how-to question that everybody asks, how to. Sitopate, sadhusanga, or etc. Associated with read, that's books. Read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Read Sanatana Goswami. Read the writings of our Goswami, because they're teaching of Chaitanya's teachings, which is right in the pages of the Bhagavatam. It's just not, waived, but it's there. It's there. Okay. So that's in the previous sentence, to keep their hearts free of this, that's the desire for aspiring for other goals. Devotees should, with pure love, continue to practice devotional service. So sadhana. But what kind of sadhana? Vaidhi sadhana and Raganuga sadhana. Right there. Although, wherever there is such devotional service, the Supreme Lord surely appears, and indeed that place is Vaikuntha. Devotees must still have special regard for the Vaikuntha world, because nowhere else is the personality of Godhead always directly to be seen. There's a commentary that just came across that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was also a Rag Bhakta. He takes the 90 process of devotional service and makes it 14. And the last two of the 14, then what comes prema, and then seeing the personality of Godhead, and then experiencing the nectar of his wonderful qualities and pastimes. First canto, chapter 2, commentary. Commentary. The question may arise, since Prema Bhakti ridicules the happiness of Brahman realization, includes all sweet varieties of supreme ecstasy, and is available here in this world, what need is there to go elsewhere? In the Padma Purana, Kartika Mahatmya, the Lord himself says that he can be found wherever his devotees remember him. Naham Vasami Vaikunte Yoginam Hridaye Na Cha. You know the verse?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Mad Bhakti Yatra Gayanti Tatra Tishtami Narada. I do not live in Vaikuntha, nor in the hearts of the yogis. I stay instead, O Narada, in that place where my devotees sing my glories. Paragraph. The Vaikuntha Dutas point out that there is one reason why Vaikuntha Loka is a more desirable place for devotees than the material universe, only in the transcendental world Vaikuntha is the Supreme Lord, always visible with all his variegated charm, beauty, pastimes, and personal qualities. Text 132. Nowhere else can such bhakti to him in all its forms be realized forever without disturbance and in the company of so many surrendered devotees. Commentary. The devotional service in Vaikuntha is unmixed with material tendencies, semicolon. It is motivated solely by pure prema. Again, this is beyond duty into the rag stage. Because in Vaikuntha, there are none of the frustrations imposed by time and physical limitations. The Vaishnavas who live there in their spiritual bodies can enjoy the rasas of prema bhakti with full freedom available nowhere else. All Vaishnavas therefore should give Sri Vaikuntha Loka the honor it deserves. Now it's speaking from the get-go that Vaikuntha Loka and the Lord of Vaikuntha is not Narayana but Krishna or Krishna Chandra or other names. Also, he shows that form in Vaikuntha. He has Gopal Kumar and the cowherd boys play the flutes before him and the goddess of fortune. So he'll feel right at home. Please stay here. He knows what his mood is. Anyway. Vaikuntha Dutas continue, text 133. You should not consider devotional service merely an activity of the body, senses, and mind. It is, in fact, the eternal, absolute reality, manifesting itself as the most intense ecstasy beyond the material modes. Commentary. In text 123, this is 133, where the Vaikuntha messengers advise Gopakumar to practice devotional service, Bhaktim Anu Tishta. This might be mistaken to mean that bhakti is a ritualistic practice, something to be accomplished by human endeavor. To correct this potential misunderstanding, they here explain that pure bhakti is never approached by material senses. Even though hearing is done with the ears, chanting with the tongue, remembering with the mind, and praying and other activities with the limbs of the body, all these activities are not material, semicolon. They are spiritual activities that can be performed only by a devotee awake with devotees awakened spiritual senses. By text 134, by Lord Krishna's mercy, his devotees happily realize this devotional service in many varieties. It reveals itself to them in their hearts, which are free from the material modes and immersed in eternality, knowledge, and Buddhist commentary. If devotional service can be performed only with spiritual senses, how can a conditioned soul ever qualify to engage in it? They can be purified sufficiently to begin transcendental hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord only by Krishna's causeless mercy. As devotees mature in their practice, their individual tastes gradually appear, and on the higher levels of advancement, their reciprocations with Krishna become increasingly precise, diverse, and ecstatic. This is really elevated, very attractive. Text 135. When, by spiritual discrimination, a devotee becomes completely pure in heart and attains the transcendental abode of the Lord, he realizes the wonderful varieties of devotional service. Commentary. The argument for how an aspiring Vaishnava becomes spiritualized is presented positively in this verse and negatively in the next. By learning to discern spirit from matter, a devotee gradually frees his consciousness from entanglement with the material body, its senses, and the things of this world. In Bhagavad Gita 5.9, Krishna describes this kind of discrimination to Arjuna. Indriyani, indriyarteshu, vartanta, iti, dharayan. If one becomes aware that the senses are simply interacting with their objects, unquote. When one is finally free from all material contact, one can enter Vaikuntha, the realm of Lord Hari, where there is also no connection with matter. There, one can enjoy the real varieties of life. So here's the negative. For some reason, I penciled out a big X mark across this. Anyway, otherwise, for one whose heart has, by transcendental knowledge, been freed from the material endeavors of the body, senses, and mind, the activities of devotional service would be no more suitable than ordinary affairs. Commentary. If devotional service consisted of actions of the material senses upon material objects, it would be no more spiritual than any other activity. No purified person who has given up material activities would want to engage in it. After having struggled to put aside the obligations of Vedic duties, nitya and naimittika, regular and occasional, why would one accept new karmic entanglement? The advanced soul would judge the activities of Vaishnavas unfavorably, applying to them the principle that, quote, only the senses are involved with their objects, unquote. So the positive is that there's an empowerment by the Lord that brings devotional service to the transcendental platform. And if one doesn't acknowledge that, then it's just worldly activity. It's unattractive for a transcendentalist. Text 137. Why should one who renounces the acts of devotion to the Supreme Lord as if they were like other activities go to Vaikuntha? He should obtain only liberation, meaning the Sayuja Fund. Commentary. Impersonalists who consider devotional activity to be material have failed to receive even a touch of mercy from devotional service. If they have actually attained naishkarmya, or relief from attachment to the results of material work, they can have liberation, but without bhakti, they can never enter Vaikuntha. To attain Vaikuntha, one must be favored with the blessings of bhakti. Thus, the spiritual nature of devotional service is proved by the positive and negative logic. And again, here's the negative logic one. 138. I'm going to end here. Even if persons whose vision is limited and materialistic think devotional service is just another kind of karma, it is not at all. Even if they think that way, it is not at all. Let us think that way, and let them talk in that way. Let them think in that way, let them talk on in that way, as they do when they dismiss as material the bodies and personal qualities of the Lord's devotees. Commentary. Technically speaking, active devotional service is also a kind of disciplined work, like the duties of persons following the Varnashram system. In this sense, bhakti may also be called a variety of karma. The Vaikuntha Dutas themselves used the word bhakti karma in the previous verse. But even though this concession may be granted to appease those not devoted to the Lord, bhakti should still not be regarded as karma in the sense of being a function of the material body. Paragraph. Some schools of thought, for example, Jaiminist Karma Mimamsa philosophy, regard Bhagavat Bhakti as the best of the various kinds of good karma that can purify the mind. But they think like this only because their point of view is mundane. The same word, quote, body, may be applied both to material bodies made of the 5 elements and to the Satchitananda bodies of the residents of Vaikuntha. Or the word jewel may be used to refer to glass ornaments or the Vaikuntha Chintamani gems. Or the Sanskrit word sattva may be used to indicate either one of the 3 modes of material nature or the transcendental nature of the supreme truth, the source of all existence and all goodness. It is in the second sense that the words used in scriptural texts like this one from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:2-35. That's the prayers of the Demigods chapter. Sattvam lachet datar idam nijam bhaved vijnanam ajnana vidaparnarchanam. O Lord, cause of all causes, if your transcendental body were not beyond the modes of material nature, one could not understand the difference between matter and transcendence, unquote. Only those whose vision is external can identify matter with spirit or use the word karma to equate worldly duties with pure devotional service. My understanding of what is going on here is kind of repeating something, but the nature of devotional service, the nature of the devotional service that Lord Chaitanya taught is not simply the Vaidhi Bhakti, but the the transcendental stage. Or the definition of bhakti is the definition of pure bhakti. Anyabhinashatu shunyam jnana karmajnanavitam anukuyena krishna rushivanam bhakti. Bhakti means uttama bhakti, and there's the sadhana stage that helps one get to that stage, but that stage is no longer in contact with matter. And that's what the Vishnu Dutas are advising Gopakumar to go beyond the duty platform into the transcendental platform, and they're identifying the transcendental platform in various ways. What should not be considered, how it should be considered. And I selected this section because they compliment him for going, not staying in Tapaloka. They're not buying into the arguments that were being presented about the merit of thinking of the Lord within the mind is the same as chanting of the mantra. The argument is, why are you searching for the Lord? We see him all the time. But it's not the same. It's it's part of their argument, as I recall, was something like this. When you see something with the eyes, before you see it with the eyes, you see within the mind. And so just see within the mind. And, the task accomplished. And that's the it's one of the arguments. It's one of the doctrines of remembering Krishna's pastimes during his different parts of the day, etc., etc. Yeah. There's a very, I found it a little intimidating chapter in this Manashiksha publication, where there's two schools of the Rag teaching. One school is the internal, and that's according to the cursory reading that I did, is what Raghunath Das Goswami is advocating. It seems what's being advocated here. And then there's another school that comes from, if I remember his name, Dhyana Chandra, who is a disciple of Gopal Guru in that mind. And he has a whole procedure of the exoteric or external, remembering, doing this thing and that thing, and of the different pastimes of the personality guided during the 8 times a day, and there's rituals that you do to go along with it. Very, very elaborate. And as best as I could, because I didn't read it so carefully, it was not attractive. It's that very same practice that Siddha Pranami, that Bhaktisiddhanta was opposed to. It's just doing things externally without having the internal absorption. The internal absorption is the essence and not the external manifestation, in order to create the internal absorption. Anyway, it's very elevated, but there are schools present today that teach the other. And it's good for us to know what Bhaktisiddhanta preferred, what certainly Srila Prabhupada preferred, and our Goswamis are preferring. So that's, as far as I can gather, that we're here, Sanatana Goswami is giving philosophical essence from through the medium of the Vaikuntha Dutas, what the state of spontaneous devotional service is and isn't. And what the bhakti is and isn't. It's not merely an activity of the body or the mind. Anyway, to be continued. Really elevated, isn't it? Where we were just taken to a very high stage. This is only chapter 3. Oh,